Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to talk about is you got some money over the holidays for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever other reason. You're going to blow your money. All right, it's sort of this time of year that you might want to think about it. And one of the things you can do is I have some lemmings following each other off the end of a cliff, and they're all going to buy the same watch. That's fine. I used to complain about that, and oh, you guys are. I quit doing that. Some people feel very comfortable getting a watch like everybody else. To me, I don't care. I mean, if everybody else likes it, great. If they don't, I don't care. It's already bad attitude. By the way, lemmings really don't follow each other off the end of a cliff. This was from a 1958 Disney nature movie, and they herded up a bunch of and ran them off a cliff because they were disappearing. What they'd do, there'd be a bunch of lemmings, and all of a sudden they'd all disappear, and then there'd be a bunch more. Somebody said, well, they must be running off the cliff. It wasn't that at all. It had to do with eating patterns and so forth. But anyway, it's become part of our parlance now is lemming-like behavior. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things I've been thinking about and what I should blow my money on. One of the first things I came up with was a handmade German watch. We've talked a lot about handmade Swiss watches, but there's some really good buys with handmade German watches. One of the best is by Stefan Kadoki. He just won a Grand Prix award, and he had this one called Kadoki 1. He didn't knock himself out naming it. And this particular watch, he had one almost the same, had the same movement, but it had a little day-night indicator at the top. That's the one he won the award for in 2019. So this guy is part of the independent watchmaker group that F.P. Jorn put together. And they have, I mean, this would be something special, having a handmade watch, and $7,300 for a watch like that is not cheap, but it's not bad either, not compared to what some of these other ones cost. Another handmade German watch are those by Rolf Lang, Dresden. And Rolf Lang, I've talked about him before. His stuff is really gorgeous, and they're all handmade as well. So this is another one that you might be interested in. It's just sort of something. These are while they're there. These are the kinds of watches I like to look at. Now, another kind of watch that I like to find are what I call a near popular watch. These are watches that are from a line of watches that became very popular and very expensive. This one is a Patek Philippe Neptune. There's starting around 36 millimeters. They have a lot of other ones that are very small. You got to watch out for those. But they have a couple different type here. The one on the right is the one from about 6250, and it compares with a 36 millimeter Aquanaut, which is around 17,000. So you can find some pretty good deals on that. Now, the one on the left with the black dial and the movement down there in the middle is from it. Those things are around 18,000. Now, if you compare that with a Nautilus, those things are 30,000. So, if you can find them, it's really, or if you got 30,000 bucks. But these are, it's the kind of watch I think that's overlooked, and I happen to like, but not for everybody. Now, another one is a watch with an interesting story. This is one that I had mentioned before, and this is the Air King by Rolex. So the reason I like it is I like the looks of it. The movement in it's the same as the Milgauss, and so it has this anti-magnetic feature to it. And the particular model is based on the Bloodhound which was a ground racer. This thing went like 1,000 miles an hour or something like it, really fast. I put a note down there in 1945. Hans Wilsdorf launched with this Air series. They had Air Tiger, Air this, Air that, and the Air King, and this was to honor the British Royal Air Force. Someone had said it was supposed to look a lot like the something from the World War II British fighter planes, Spitfire and a Hurricane. I looked at those instrument panels, and they don't. Okay, they don't. This particular one, though, does look a lot like the Bloodhound Land Racer. The Land Racer clocks were designed, or instrument clocks were designed by Rolex, and the Air King has a lot of the features of it. And so I think it's a neat, unique kind of watch. It's one of the least expensive Rolexes too, probably one of the least popular as well. But it's a cool watch. Another kind of watch that I'm really finding interesting is what I call the affordable watches with good movements, cases, hands, and dials. Now this, I think, we're going to see a lot more of this. And these are really good prices. One I did a review on called the Ophion 786 Velos Silver Guilloche. The case is by Voutilanen Caton. Now, Voutilanen didn't design it, but there are certain features of that case that very much remind me of that. The movement in this particular one is sort of a unique one. Now, it was sort of done by Soprod. What it was, Soprod and Festina became the ownership of Teletime movements. They went out of business, but they had some interesting movements, so they picked up some of those, and they have their own movement manufacturing plant, and they made it for them. They're selling the thing for $28.70, and so what you have, you can get a really good movement together with a good watch for under €3,000, which I think is fantastic. To me, an even better deal is, and I'm going to say this wrong, Atelier Milsami, and the name of the watch is the name of the model is the Monarch. Here, the watch has a Vasseur 3002. That's the caliber number, VMF 3002, and that's only $28.50. And Atelier Milsami has taken, to me, which is an extraordinary step, rather than trying to find the cheapest movement they can find, they found the best one. And in terms, you want to go and you buy a lot of movements and buy a lot, it's not millions, but more than a few that you and your buddies are going to knock a watch together with. So this is one of I think it may be the very first one that Atelier Milsami. I think it means a vintage workshop. That's the French amount, call it that, so I can pronounce right. But here you have a couple of watches, and I'm hoping to see as ETA closes down its external access, you're going to start seeing more of these rather than everything has got to be a Solita or even something less expensive than that. Okay. Another group of watches that I've been looking at, these are what I call unique, affordable, and manufactured. Now, by that I mean these are watches that get overlooked a lot, but I think they're really cool watches. And by affordable, I mean, they're not up around $20,000, and some of these really high ones that are up there. First of all is Gerard Perregaux, this model that they have, this one I happen to like, called the 1966 big date with a moon phase. I just like it. I just think it's a cool looking watch. One I happen to like a great deal is a Breguet Tradition. And this is, I like the watches that look like, Abraham Breguet had his hand in it. I mean, it's very sort of an old fashioned look. The Parmigiani Tonda Metrograph. This is one of those watches that wasn't very popular, and like a lot of Parmigianis, you can pick them up for a very good price. I mean, an excellent price. And so this is one that I've seen for a chronograph. Man, I tell you, it's a cool watch. Another one that I think these are relatively new, and this is the line called the Pioneer Center Seconds from H. Moser. And the thing about this particular watch, or these watches in general, is that usually Mosers are over $20,000, and this one is around, I don't know, 11 or 12, right in there. And it's Moser's stuff is so good. I just, it's beautifully done. Another watch company that I like is Glasuda Original. And this one is a Panel Reserve. Now, a lot of people talk about it as these are sort of the more upscale versions, but not over the top crazy prices. And so this is some other watches that I like to consider. Now, these next two I call my dream watches. One is a Groeneveld 1941 Remontois. That's all you need to know. Stainless steel salmon. I'd take it in any number of different colors. I really like that watch. What I like about it has a Remontois Egalite in it. Thing I really like. Voutilanen, Vingate, rose gold, optical illusion. His watches are beautiful. They're beautifully done. Movement, everything about them. Both of these run at these lower, below 4 hertz, 3 hertz, 2.5 hertz at that level. Now the final two are two watches. They're both sports watches, and very nice sports watches. They're sports watches that I don't think anybody'd have a problem getting away with either one of these watches at a dress situation, dress watches. One is the H. Moser Heritage Center Seconds Funky Blue. Now, this particular one they have some good prices on these. I think there was one recently Federico had for about, I think it was 8,000 or 9,000, somewhere in there. Great watches. Again, H. Moser. Now, this other one is a Vacheron Constantin Quadrille. This watch came out at the same time as the Overseas 3 with the same movement, the 5100 that was specifically developed for an in-house movement for the overseas, for the Vacheron Constantin did it. Before that, they had somebody else's movements that fixed up. But this movement, they really worked on the 5100. They've got a beautiful movement in there. And I think this is one of those watches you can get pretty good deals on because they're not popular. And they come in with a white dial, which I like. They also come with a black dial and a blue dial. So these are, in terms of thinking about blowing my money, this is, some of these come to mind. Some watches, and this is what the one I started with, is sort of like following what everybody else says. Sometimes I find those things really attractive too. I mean, sometimes you'll find a real popular watch. Hey, I want one of those. Those are really popular. For the most part, that hasn't proven to be the case. Almost never, but sometimes it does. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people like to do it. That's cool with me too. Okay, well, listen, I'd like to hear what you'd like to blow your money on, some ideas you have, and anything else that's you'd like to talk about for watches. Until Sunday, when we have our next collection reviews, is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection.